Hi guys, welcome back to Black Tie English. I'm James. In today's class, I'm teaching you about 18 nouns which are the same in the singular and the plural. Now, this is different to my last class because that was about nouns which are always in the plural. They couldn't be in the singular at all. Whereas this class is about nouns which can be in the singular and the plural, but they look exactly the same. For instance, crossroads, one crossroads, two crossroads. We don't change the spelling, we don't change the ending, but they exist in the singular and the plural. Sometimes these are called zero plurals because you don't add anything, you add zero to make them from the singular to the plural. So keep watching and I'll show you about how to use these nouns in the rest of the class. For now, make sure you subscribe by clicking the red button, turn on the bell so you get my latest video updates, and also join the Black Tie community on Facebook and Instagram because I post extra English learning content there as well. So if you're ready, let's learn about nouns in English which are the same in the singular and the plural. So let's look at the first 9 of the nouns which are always the same in the singular and the plural. And the first one is fish. So in the singular, we say fish. This fish is Japanese, and in the plural, those fish are Japanese. But there's no ending on the end of fish. Fish, one fish, two fish. The next one is deer. So a deer is a kind of animal with antlers. You'll see them in Scotland and in other countries around the world, but there's lots in Scotland. There's a deer over there, singular deer. Many deer live in Scotland. So live is a plural verb and there's no ending on the end of deer. One deer, two deer. And sheep is a common example. I'm sure some of you know that already. You can get wool from a sheep and then lots of sheep. So lots of is a plural quantifier. And they live in Wales, plural verb, no ending on sheep. That's why it's called a zero plural. Zero is added to make it plural. The fourth one is moose, and a moose is a big deer-like animal, but a lot bigger, that often lives in North America, and in Asia they're called elk. So they're called elk in Asia, but they're called moose in North America. That moose is brown, singular moose, and plural moose are a Canadian animal. So the same rule applies, moose, moose. Offspring is an unusual word, and it's another way of saying children, but it can refer to humans as well as animals. So the horse had one offspring. That means the horse had one baby, had a foal. A foal is a baby horse, and that's in the singular, one offspring. But if the horse had more than one, the horse had 3 offspring. There's nothing on the end of offspring. It's just one offspring, 2 offspring. So you'll see the pattern emerging here. Same with barracks. Now barracks is a difficult one because it has an S on the end, a bit like headquarters, and a few of the other words in the next half of the video. But barracks is singular, barracks, and barracks is plural, barracks. So there is a barracks, singular verb is, and a singular indefinite article, a barracks. A barracks is where where soldiers are based. So an army base will have a barracks on it. There are 2 barracks, so this is the plural. We've already got the S. The S stays in the plural as well. It's not the S that makes it plural, it's just the same. Singular and plural barracks. Headquarters. Now headquarters tends to be where a company or an institution is based. That's its main location. It may have other locations around the world or around the country, but its head base, its head location is called headquarters. So Apple's headquarters is in the USA. Remember, with barracks, just as with headquarters, even though there's an S, it can be singular. So a headquarters, and then in the plural, Apple and Google's headquarters are in the USA. So one headquarters, two headquarters. Doesn't change in the singular or the plural. Finally, aircraft and hovercraft. So these follow the same pattern. The craft ending applies the same rule to both words. So aircraft is another word for an aeroplane or things that fly, but a helicopter is a form of aircraft. So you could say that aircraft landed safely. Singular pronoun, that aircraft. And then in the plural, those aircraft, no S on the end. And then we have the past simple. Those aircraft landed safely. Same in the singular, same in the plural. Hovercraft. Now a hovercraft, for those of you who don't know, is a type of vehicle which can go on land and on water, and it stays above the surface of the land and the water by blowing air very strongly downwards. They make a very loud noise, and they often have a fan on the back which pushes the vehicle forwards. So one hovercraft, a hovercraft drives on land and water, singular and singular verb. These hovercraft are new, but no S on the end of hovercraft. So those were the first 9 of the nouns, which are the same in the singular and the plural. Let's look at the final 9. So now let's look at the next 9 nouns, which are the same in the singular and the plural. And you'll see that the first 4 also have an S on the end, like barracks and headquarters. And that S stays there in the singular and the plural. So the next half, the second half of the list, these are words which are the same in the singular and the plural, but only in this context. So I'll explain why these words operate a little bit differently to the other ones. Let's start with crossroads. So crossroads is a place where 2 roads cross over. So you can see my drawing up here. The cars will come down this way, and then the cars will go across this way. And the circle in the middle, this is the crossroads. So there's an S on the end in the singular and the plural. We reached a crossroads, just one of them, and the S is there. In the plural, there are 4 crossroads in town. The S is there as well. And then the second one is species. So this is a technical or a biological word. You may have heard of it in your science classes. A species is a family or a group or a type of animal, a type of organism. So in the singular, there's an S, and in the plural, there's an S. The leopard is a species of cat, one species of cat. And a leopard is a big cat. It falls with lions and tigers and panthers, and it has spots. So in the plural, species, there are 37 species of cat in total. Plural verb, the S is still there. And the same rule applies with series. So a series can mean a few things. It can mean a group of TV programs, a TV show, a season of TV shows, that's one series. But a series literally means something that happens one after the other in sequence. So let's look at that. Series. S on the end in the singular and the plural. Did you see the latest series? So this is in the singular, although having said that, this sentence could also be in the plural, but let's think of it in the singular for now. So the latest series in the singular, and then in the plural, how many? So this is a plural quantifier, has to be followed by a plural noun. Series still has an S, and we've got a plural verb. The final one in this group of S-ending nouns is means. And it's a relatively rare word, but it's another way of saying a method or a way, a method of doing something. It was a means to an end. This is a saying, and it's often used to describe something which has to be done just to get to the goal, just to get to the end of the task. Not necessarily the best way, but it's one way. And so you'll see that it's singular, but there's an S on the end. The S doesn't change. So in the plural, many means of transport, the S remains with a plural verb. Now in the plural, in that example sentence here, many means of transport. A means of transport is a way of traveling around. So a bicycle, a car, a train, they're all means of transport. Now we're going to look at these 5 here. We'll start with stone. You may already know the word stone. It's another word for a small rock, and that works like any normal, regular English noun. Car, cars, chair, chairs, stone, stones. So that's the regular version of stone. But here we've got the unusual use of the word stone, and that's something particular to British English. It's a word we use as a measurement for weighing humans. So I've lost a stone. A stone is equivalent to 6.5 kilograms. So you could say I've lost a stone on my diet. It would be the same as saying I've lost 6.5 kilos from eating healthily and doing exercise. But in the plural, it just stays as stone. We don't say stones. So he weighs 12 stone, always without an S. So it's just stone, not stones. Now let's look at these 4 numbers. So I'm sure you know these numbers already, but there's a special rule that I need to explain about when they have an S and when they don't. So in the singular, we've got 100 books, 1,000. So we've just got one of these numbers, 100, 1,000, and so on. But when we talk about the plural of these numbers, let's say 5, 500, 5,000, 5 million, we don't put an S on the end. Because in some languages, I know at least in some European languages, French, Italian, Spanish, you do add an S to some of these numbers in the plural, but not in English. Now, the different point I wanted to make with these numbers is that when you're being non-specific, so if you don't know exactly how many of something you're describing, you can use a word hundreds of, thousands of. There were hundreds of people in the street. There were thousands of birds in the air. You don't know precisely how many, but you know it's between, say, for 100, 200 and 900, and for thousands, well, multiple thousands. So if you're being imprecise, you can talk about hundreds of and thousands of, and they have an S, but you wouldn't put a number like 1 or 5 or 10 in front of that expression. So that is a quick run through of the final 9 nouns, which are the same in the singular and the plural. If you have any questions about any of these nouns or the nouns in the first part of the lesson, please write me a comment, please ask me a question, and I will explain anything that you need me to explain. So I hope you enjoyed that class. That's everything for today. Make sure you subscribe by clicking the red button below, turn on the bell so you get my latest video notifications, and join us at the Black Tie community on Instagram and on Facebook. That's it for now. I hope to see you in our next lesson.